Hey there internets, I'm Michael and this is Toucan Play That Game, bringing you our 12th instalment of Game Night in Review. And this is actually a special Game Night in Review because I'm not just reviewing a single game night, I'm actually reviewing the past week, which was a skiing holiday. So I have out here all the games that I took on holiday. Now this pile here were ones that didn't actually get played. So you can see there are quite a few here. It's not that they weren't good games, they just didn't make it to the table. So what we have here, we have Double Bananagrams, Dragon's Hoard, Harbour, and then Travel Scrabble, which I'm kind of glad didn't make it to the table, but anyway. So that leaves, of course, these games here. Now, you can see some of these you probably don't recognise because they're in Tupperware boxes. And that's because the boxes these come in are far too big. So first one I'm going to talk about is Machi Koro. So you can see here, this is the size of the Machi Koro box. This is the contents of the Machi Koro box put into a Tupperware that still has space in there. So you can see Machi Koro could have a much more travel size box if they had gone that way. So for those of you who don't know about Machi Koro, it's a game about building a city and gaining money by building different buildings that trigger on certain rolls of the dice. So if you want to know more on this, I have done a full series of videos on Machi Koro, and I'll include links to those videos in the description of this video. So we played this a couple times over the week. I think played 2 or 3 games in total. One game was with my little niece, who is only 4 years old, maybe 5 now. And the age range that this suggests is 10 plus on this game. And there is quite a lot of text there, but for the most part, she was doing really well at understanding the game. I think maybe her choices of what to buy weren't particularly tactical, but she enjoyed it. Simply the act of rolling dice and seeing what happened was fun for her. So that's Machi Koro. It's a light, easy game and is fun for all the family. So let's talk about the next one that's in a Tupperware. Now obviously this is a much bigger Tupperware here, but the game is Camel Up. And again, I have done a full series of videos for Camel Up. So if you are interested in what I'm saying about this game, then you can watch those and there is links in the description. So one thing to point out is obviously I have not fitted the board in this little Tupperware here, but I have got the pyramid and all the pieces and cards, etc. in this Tupperware box. So you can see considerably smaller than the main box here. So that was one way I made Camel Up more portable. And I really wanted to take Camel Up, A, because it won my poll to take on holiday, and B, because it's the only game I already have that would play for everyone who was going. So I said, of course, that I didn't take the board. But what we did do is we did a little drawing game with my niece, and she just drew out a board on a piece of A4 paper that we used. And that worked perfectly fine and was a much more compact option. Now, we were going to take a photocopy of the board, but there were difficulties with that. Let's leave it at that. But it meant that we had this little art project with my niece, and that was very nice to do, and it meant we had a board we could play with. So, Camel Up, I didn't actually play this with my niece, it was just the adults playing this one. As I say, I've done a full series of videos. I didn't do well, I lost miserably most of the time. But yeah, it's a fun, light game about betting on camel races. So if that sounds of any interest at all, please do check out my main videos on it. A few people did comment on the luck heaviness of this and that they weren't keen on that. However, as I've said in my other videos, I think that the length of game it is means that that high level of luck is fine for me. So that's Camel Up. So the next game we have here is Star Realms. So Star Realms is a sci-fi based deck building game following on from the genre of Dominion and many other deck builders. This is a 2-player box on its own. It is a very quick, enjoyable deck building game, which just has a bit more theme and depth to it than playing Dominion. It's not necessarily always particularly balanced because it is very luck dependent on what cards are available and what cards come out in your hand. But obviously, as the game progresses, you've done more to build up your deck how you want to, etc. So there definitely is a large amount of strategy there, despite the large amount of luck, that works quite nicely. And it does play very quickly, so that's very good. I actually played this a couple of times on the mobile phone app, on the Android app, as well as playing the physical copy. I think the mobile app of this is a very good port. If you want to try out the game, the mobile app actually has a free version, so you can kind of get a feel for it before you either decide to buy the full mobile phone app or even go out and buy the game. And there is now a later version of Star Realms, which is kind of a standalone expansion with different cards than this original one comes with. But it is a very good, very quick, fun game. I started teaching my brother-in-law how to play this, and he really liked the look of it from the explanation. But then, unfortunately, he had to run off to do something else, so we didn't get to play. But then I played a couple of games with my wife, and of course, we've played this before, we've played it many times, and we really love this game. And it's a great little fun game, definitely one for you to check out. And of course, remember, with all the games, try before you buy is my mantra. And as I say, the mobile phone app is a good option with this, even if you don't have access to a games cafe or a games library in a shop, to be able to try this game before you buy it. So next we have Boss Monster 2. Now, I hadn't played this previously, but I had played the original Boss Monster. Obviously, just before I went away on holiday, I did do the unboxing of this game. And I played 3 or 4 games of this over the course of the week. For those of you who don't know what Boss Monster is, it is a game set in the theme of kind of 8-bit, 16-bit old computer game, dungeon explorer type things like Mario Brothers, that sort of thing. But rather than you being the good guys going through the dungeons, you're actually the boss of the dungeon, building up your dungeon, trying to kill the heroes. So it is an interesting game, and I will be doing a full video series on Boss Monster 2. I'm probably not going to bother doing one on the original Boss Monster because they are very similar games. As with, I was saying about Star Realms having a standalone expansion where it's just different cards. That's what Boss Monster 2 is. It's a standalone expansion to Boss Monster. It doesn't really introduce much in the way of more. It's just different cards. There are some changes with a couple of the heroes, but that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it's just different cards. But very fun game. I played this with a few people. Everyone who played it did enjoy it. And it went down really well. So that's Boss Monster 2. So, of course, I'm out of games here, but I did actually play more games than that over the course of the holiday. But they weren't games that I took. So let's now talk about those. The first one is one that I do own, and that is Splendor. Now, I have already done a full series of videos on Splendor, so if you want any more detail than what I'm giving here, please do check those out. I think this is a great, fun family game that everyone can enjoy. I will say I didn't play this with the children. It was only the adults playing this. It is a very strategy-based game, and I don't think children would fare very well against adults, to be honest. But other than that, it is great fun. It was actually my parents-in-law's copy of this they took and we played it, and everyone loves it. I think actually everyone in the family now has a copy of this game because they all love it so much. And we probably played this more than any other game because it does play reasonably quickly. There is very limited luck there. There's a small amount of luck in what cards will come out that you could buy that you might already have the gems for, but otherwise it is very strategic and it goes down really well. And you can have fun with it even if you're losing, just trying to build up your own little thing. It can feel a bit solitaire, but at the same time you can try and anticipate what other people are doing, what they're trying to do, and then either buy the cards before they do or reserve them so that they can't buy them. So there is still some interaction there. And I do think it's a good game and that you should definitely check this one out. So that's all the games that I actually have copies of that I can talk about. But there were other games played. So I'm going to start with one more game, which was an adults game that we played, which was Absolute Balderdash. Now, this is a favourite of my family-in-law. I actually really don't much like it as a game. The nature of the game is you have this kind of wheel, you're moving around, and there's this spinner in the middle that if you land on certain spaces, you flick the spinner and it'll either do nothing for you or send you backwards or send you forwards. Complete luck based that. I think that gives no addition to the game and should be removed completely, personally. Beyond that, the way the game actually works is it's very much a party game. You have each of the spaces as you're going around this course represents different categories that you then make up an answer for. So you'll have things like initials, which will be like X, Y, Z or whatever. And you have to say what X, Y, Z stands for. And of course, the person reading it has to put the correct answer. And then you just go around the table saying, well, I think this one's right, I think this one's right, etc. And I don't know, to me, I don't know if it's because I only ever play with those people or what, but I don't enjoy it. I do really badly at it. And I don't know if it's because I'm just not very good at telling the truth or understanding the truth or bluffing or creating convincing lies, but it is definitely not a game I particularly enjoy. But as I say, it goes down really well with my in-laws. They all really love it and really enjoy it. There was one other person who did make a comment of the game goes on too long for the game that it is, and that's definitely something I would agree with. But, you know, if you are a big fan of party games and kind of bluffing, deception-y type games, you may enjoy this. So if that's the case, check it out. If, like me, you're not a big fan of those anyway, and you don't want a game that's going to go on, 2-3 hours of just the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, don't. So that's all the adult games. So if you are only interested in adults games, please, you can stop watching now, but please do subscribe and everything else that I'm going to go through at the end of the video. But I'm now going to talk about the children's games that I played with my niece. These are purely children's games. You would not play these as adults on your own. And these were the games that my nieces brought with them, and they're, I think, 2 and 4-ish. So obviously one of them wasn't really playing the games, but, she's old enough that she likes rolling dice. So as an adult, the fun of any of these games came from the enjoyment that the child was having. You were enjoying that the child was enjoying it. You weren't enjoying the game itself particularly. So with that kind of out the way, let's talk about what games there was. Well, there was Dobble Kids, which is a game that we actually bought for my niece a couple of years ago. Because okay, she's younger than it recommends, but it is such a simple game and it is such a great game. For those of you who don't know what Dobble is, or Dobble Kids, it is pretty much Snap, but a bit more complicated because each card has different images on it. And in Dobble Kids, they're all animals, which is the simplification and what makes it a bit easier for it to be the kids' version. whereas in the adults Dobble, it's all sorts of different images. Now, each card will have one image, or in the Dobble Kids case, one animal, that matches on every other card. I don't know how they've managed to make that work, but they have, and it works really well. So the nature of the game is there's lots of different kind of versions of the games that you can play, but what it comes down to is finding that match. So it's just looking at all the different animals, and they vary in size type thing, but otherwise it's the same picture, just enlarged, rotated, etc. on these cards. And I think in America this is called Spot It. And so that's quite a probably more accurate name than Dobble, because the nature of the game is spot the match. And it is great fun for adults and children alike, this one. But there is an element of you have to kind of play down your ability a bit, potentially for the child to have more of a chance. But as I say, my niece has had this for a few years now, and it's a really good game. She really enjoys it, and we're able to play it with lots of different people, and we all really enjoy it. So that's Dobble Kids. If that sounds of interest, do check that out. That's from Asmodee, and it is a really good children's game. The cards are really good quality. The tin that it comes in works really well. And so it's lasting very well to children playing with it as well, which is a good sign. So the next children's game I want to talk about is Three Little Pigs. Now, this was a favourite of my niece's over the course of the week, and was played probably at least once a day, potentially a couple times a day. It wasn't necessarily always me playing. It will play 2 to 4 people, and it is pure luck. I am not kidding. It is a roll and move game where you will roll, you will move, and you're trying to collect things. If you land on the space, you collect it. So there are a lot of good things about this for a child though. And my niece was absolutely loving this game, and it was very good for teaching her counting, because you have to collect 2 pieces of each of the different types of buildings in the Three Little Pigs story. So you've got straw, sticks, and stone and brick. And so you have to pick 2 of those, and they then slot together, making a standing house, which is really nice component-wise. The pieces were very thick, hard, durable cardboard, so that was really good. And my niece just really enjoyed the counting out the spaces. And there's the big bad wolf, of course, in the story, who's trying to blow down the houses. And some of the spaces you land on represent the big bad wolf. And there is a spinner that you'll spin, and it'll either land on one of the 3 different types of house. So straw and sticks, he can blow down. Of course, the brick ones, he can't, because that's the nature of the story. So if you collect brick, they're safe, you're never going to lose those. But if you collect the straw and stick ones, you may lose those if the big bad wolf blows them down, because when that happens, you lose it and the other person gains it. If they already have their 2 of that, then it just goes to the bank of pieces, and you'll need to land on it again to get it back, or steal it off someone else using the big bad wolf. So as I say, it's all very luck based. You're rolling a dice, you're moving, you pick it up or not. You might land on the big bad wolf, you might steal something. Completely luck based. There's no way to really help someone win. But as I say, it was great fun for my niece, because she was counting out everyone's spaces, figuring out where they would go. Then when the big bad wolf, deciding who to take stuff off of, she was being taught that the fairest thing to do is target the person who's winning. So she was counting out the number of building pieces that each player had. So that was really good. And as I say, component-wise, this was a really good game. The standee cardboard was really thick. It stood up well. The board pieces were really nice and thick. And one great thing about the board is when you're setting out the board is a jigsaw of 5 pieces. So as well as having the aspect of playing the game, you get to do this little jigsaw puzzle first. So that is also a kind of sub-game within it that was a nice little touch, I feel. They could have just simply had a board that unfolded that would have been easier. But I think by making it a jigsaw puzzle, it adds more to the experience of playing that game. Obviously, visually, it's very bright cartoon work, which obviously I've actually said I like in games before, and they've done this because it will appeal to children. There is no real text here. It's a very simple, basic game. And as I say, it was very boring to play as an adult, but you gained enjoyment from seeing the children enjoying the game. So component-wise, very good, and very good for younger children, but not one for all the family. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, it might be one to check out. Then the remaining games were card games that you can play pretty much with any deck of cards, but we had some special kids versions. And that is kind of old classics that you can pick up anywhere, made by many different people. And that was just basic Snap, Happy Families and Pairs. And these are old games that everyone's probably played and knows. And I wouldn't say they're good games. They're very basic games teaching basic things for little children. So obviously Snap is teaching recognition of one thing matching to another. Happy Families is trying to help with deduction, though it doesn't work so well because my little niece, rather than keeping the cards in her hand, sets them all down, face down on the table, and you're like, right, I'll try and not look at the table. But you know, she enjoys it, and you've just got to kind of play into that enjoyment for the child. And then Pairs is obviously a memory-based game where you're just trying to remember where things are. And I am really bad at that, actually. I need to work on my memory. But yeah, so that is the long list of games that I played over the past week. So thank you if you are still watching and have stuck it out through this long video. And of course, if you have enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to the channel so that you'll see all my other videos, and share the video with your friends and family, and check us out on social media. We are on Facebook and also on Twitter. And as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.